Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Thank you so much for agreeing to serve on our Hawaii County Energy Advisory Commission. A couple of days ago, I had the privilege of swearing in our Agriculture Advisory Commission. Agriculture, energy. Probably two of the most important parts of a healthy Hawaii Island community, which is ultimately our mission and commitment. And some people, they talk about, hey, why the focus on energy? You should focus on agriculture. I said, focusing on energy is focusing on agriculture for very simple reasons. That the biggest challenge in being able to feed ourselves, the challenge or obstacle in food security, is making land agriculturally productive, having farmers farm and ranchers ranch. But the challenge in agriculture, people talk about a 4,028 square mile island. Why aren't we more land in agricultural production? And the challenge is water. In native Hawaiian, water, vai. The word for wealth is vai. We always joke about, water is so important that to be considered rich is water twice. The law of the land, kanawai, momoloho, everything has the essence of water in it. But the farmer cannot farm. We don't have more land in agriculture production because water is ultimately free, but you got to pay for the energy to get that water from where it is and where you need it, and the high cost of that energy, to the water, to the farmer, it's not easy to get that. So, everything's coming back to energy. We want to create a thriving, vibrant economy, energy. Our kids deserve to have opportunities around science and technology and higher education. But you see all these science tech companies going to Washington State, go and follow up. How come, we want to incentivize and attract those science technology companies for our kids. But why are they going to Washington State? Because they get hydropower, cheap their energy. You realize computers got to run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's some constant suck and drain on energy. At 42 cents a kilowatt. I know you're home, for my household. But, and it's not a finger point excuse. It's a challenge that we all collectively face. And ultimately every challenge is addressed because people work together, because people help each other, because we share ideas, we share information, we share suggestions and recommendations. And that's what this is, right? It is, I don't pretend for no energy. Will Ralston's supposed to be my energy guy. Sometimes I think he pretend he know energy. I just kidding. He didn't talk about my brother. Smart guy. You gotta have smart people, right? Ultimately. Talked about leadership the other day at the state planning conference yesterday morning, and I said, leadership. I don't pretend to know all it is. Every day I'm learning about it. But what I learned early on from very smart people growing up and watching other leaders work was, hey, surround yourself with smart people. Don't micromanage them. Listen to them, learn from them, support them, empower them. I must have appointed over, at one count, I'm sure it's much more now, but over 220 people in boards and commissions. People working for free, people volunteering, people busy with their own jobs, their own families, but willing to volunteer at a time. Our job is to say thank you, but support you so that your time, your effort, your energy is meaningful. And nobody likes to feel, I volunteer all the time when I do all that and nothing would happen. And I've never caught up, we have planning commission, liquor commission, water commission, police commission, fire commission. No time to keep track of all that. The best thing to do is just hire good people and trust them and let them do good. It's their community too. It's your community. Not just my community, it's our community. And so, energy has been can be very challenging, emotional topic. As we talk about creating more affordable, accessible, cheaper energy, some people look at that like, wow, that's going to invite more development. That's going to turn Hawaii Island into something we don't want to do. Let's oppose that. And I'm like, whoa. Cheaper energy, more affordable energy, more easily accessible, renewable, clean energy. It's what we're supposed to be doing because our children and grandchildren will depend on that. The decisions we make today will determine the quality of life of tomorrow. always think, wow, hey, energy. We gotta do it. Hey, hydrogen. Hey, what about hydrogen? Hey, World Energy Conference in Shanghai. Hey, you guys go check them out, find out, figure them out. You know, hey, we need more energy. Hey, we can power water North Hawaii. You know, hey, we'll do that. You know, we need more solar, geothermal. Hey, it's renewable. You know, energy that we have. Let's explore that. Let's support that. I don't support cable because the government they're like, cable. Wait. I like cheaper energy for the people of Hawaii Island. I don't like take all the energy and send them to Oahu. Not yet, anyway. Give us 15 cents a kilowatt energy. You can take all you like after. But that's not where we're at. That's not what we're talking about. When I ask what is this Energy Advisory Commission, we're not trying to achieve the state's goals here. We're trying to look out after the island of Hawaii, the county of Hawaii, our community, our people. You know, I'm going to get two tracks, right? I try to look at it. Just share my level real quick. On one hand, the biggest user of the energy grid in the county of Hawaii is the county of Hawaii. We can't go out and promote more renewable energy, better use, smarter, more strategic utilization of energy if we don't do it first. Okay, we go in-house first. We will put photovoltaics on our police stations, our fire stations, our county buildings. We go explore electric vehicles. We go look at our fleet. How can we be more efficient? How can we use less energy? So we've been doing a lot of that in-house. On one hand, it's internally, you know, Department of Water Supply. You know, just looking at pipes and fixing leaks saves energy usage on the county of Hawaii. Saves money, you know, for a taxpayer. Sometimes it's the same as the ratepayer. So in being more efficient, being more conscious, aware, informed, has helped us be more efficient internally. But over here is, how does Hawaii Island, Hawaii County, what do we need to do? That's what I'm asking all of you to do. You know, be aware of what we're doing locally, internally, and help us with that. And also help us, where's our energy policy going? You know, what do we want to do more exploration of? What do we want to incentivize, encourage, invest in, partner with? So, sorry for taking too much time. But I just wanted and most of all, I'm here for you guys to tell me, tell Will, tell Randy, R&D, Water, share with us what to do. Where are the low-hanging fruit? You know, where's the punch list that we can hit A, B, C? We get there, then maybe we can tackle D, E, F. But no use having A through Z and not being able to really prioritize it. So what is our top three priorities? What can we realistically achieve in the next few years? And then let's direct our energies and resources to do that. That would be cool. You know, that'd be time well spent. And I'll keep an open heart and open mind. You know, no more preconceived notion what I want you guys to say, more curious. What you guys collectively, after working together, will come back with. That cool? Cool, man. Anybody get any questions? See, that's why I talk plenty, but I talk so much you guys forget my question. You guys have questions, but I figure if I keep talking, you will forget what question you're going to ask, and I can lead off. I'm happy to answer any questions at any time. Anybody get any questions? What your role of the commission? Any ideas, thoughts, or concerns? If not, if I can respectfully request everybody, please. Oh.
Yeah, I couldn't let the moment go.
Absolutely. I'm right here. You can hire me on an appointment, you know. I have big plenty to do, so I wouldn't let the moment go either if I was you. I would find out. I'm standing right here. On video, better yet. So.
All right. The last commission that some of us were involved in
yes.
Put together a pretty big document with a lot of recommendations and basically a compilation of all the work that we did over the previous 3 years. And I'm just wondering at some point in time if we could get some feedback about, because that was submitted and then we were disbanded and it kind of just, we didn't even know if it was read or what came about as a result of that, or what things looked promising in there and what didn't. And so it'd be really good to get some feedback and some insight as to what your thinking is about the recommendations and all the work that was done previously?
Great question, fair question. What we'll do, and I did this with Ag too, is at the next meeting, one, I can commit to maybe every other meeting, depending on how regularly you meet. But what we should do is not just a brief introduction, is to sit down with this commission and schedule it and really detail what we're doing. You know, what we've done, what we're doing around OTEC and Kumijima and Mackay Engineering at Nilha. You know, what we're doing with some of the recommendations with the previous Energy Advisory Commission, what Will has been tasked with, what we've taken as some of our priorities out of there to say, hey, we can do that. You know, and not just, you know, we talk energy, a lot of times we talk the energy grid, but what we've noticed is that we can make a real meaningful impact on our transportation, renewable energy. You know, hydrogen, you know, we've said, you know, visits, the discussion was there. Hey, it's not just the energy grid, it's 99% of our transportation is fossil fuel based. You know, some of that recommendation is that we should focus there. So we've worked with the Ledge, past session, we've gone to Oahu, look at, was it Hickam?
Hickam, of course.
Hickham's hydrogen energy based initiative. Hey, we gotta send some guys, hey, we go host, and ask this commission, we will host a Pacific Hydrogen Energy Conference next year. You know, let's work towards that. So it's a great question, and no use we run off and act like we're working off a blank slate too, right? I mean, all of the previous work of the previous Energy Advisory Commission should be distributed. Everybody should have a hand on that. Everybody should be holding that. Okay, well, should everybody get that? Everybody should have a buy-in. You know, that this is previous compilation priorities, identification of issues we can address. And I'll come to the next one and we'll sit down and we'll open binders. And we'll talk about, Randy will come and we'll talk about, you know, we'll talk about specific things being done with the specific items we've looked at and kind of where we're going from here with what we've had. So that I think will give us a good baseline to decide where we go from here with what else we can generate. Cool.
Okay.
When the next meeting? How often are you guys planning for meeting? Or so you guys will decide that?
They're gonna decide.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So on that, just make it, it's now on Tuesday, unless we're gonna be in Kona. Tuesday's my Kona days, but any other day, we can make that time. And Randy, we'll put them on my calendar, please. And then we'll have other staff make sure everybody's got stuff is highlighted. And everything we're working on is presented. Everybody gets a great idea where we are. And then that will make it easier to discuss where we're going. Thanks, brother. Good question.
I have another one.
Yes, tell me.
We hear your message loud and clear. We'd like to hear directly from other departments within the county on their actions and proactivities over the last few years.
Perfect. You can have full access to them. In fact, my next cabinet meeting is in about 2 weeks. And we'll make sure at that cabinet meeting, I'll have all of our departments notified that when asked by the Energy Advisory Commission to please make themselves available.
Thank you.
No problem. Because every department has something significant going on around energy, renewable energy. Because it's all cost driven too. You know, with the challenging economic environment we've all experienced. Everybody's been encouraged to look once, twice, 3 times at saving money, and a lot of that has come upon saving energy costs. Yes.
I have a follow-up.
Sure.
You know, I briefly looked at the mission of the commission here, and it seems as though it's focusing in now on the report the Kahala Center did in terms of the 5-year roadmap. And one of the big recommendations within that, in terms of establishing a priority on energy, is to kind of create a separate energy area within the county that, you know, gives it more prominence, has more staff. Obviously, there's hiring issues and all of that go hand in hand. But what is some of the thinking, you know, since that report has been embraced, obviously, and put into our mission now? And a big key aspect of that report was to really elevate the prominence of energy in the county.
Yeah.
What's the thinking around that?
You know, the Kohala Center, the 5-year plan, you know, they initially came out with their first energy sustainability plan, right? Read that, the whole thing, back in 2007. Very informative, really appreciated it. Was very excited about them updating their 5-year plan. Was really looking for some technical insight. Yeah, some really exciting insight. But the priority was, hey, you need more people. You need to hire more people, create a new department as a priority. Not saying that's not incorrect. And it's something we, you know, really have to look at. My first reaction was, oh, that's all. You know, looking at one problem, oh yeah, challenging. You know what you need? You need to hire plenty of people so that they can advocate for that. You need one grant writer to write more grants for that. You need one, you know, community outreach person to educate for that. You need one, like, me and you could have did that over a plate lunch, Steve. Right? You know, so I mean that's important, but you know, just as a from a fiscal perspective, right? I've made some really tough decisions on size and cost of government. And I came in the previous 8 years before I took office, government had doubled in size and cost. You know, went from 175 million to 403 million. You know, our employees grew by almost 600. So I was like, you know, I get, you know, the Great Recession. And I got reduced by 200 the number of employees, you know, cut for the first time for 4 consecutive years. So all of a sudden you're like a fiscal conservative, you know. I'm not a Tea Party guy or anything, but you know, that's just the reality, right? I mean, I get 18 departments I gotta manage. It's like having 18 kids going, hey, I need this, I need that, I need this, you know. And instead of giving them what they need, you're taking what they feel they desperately gotta have. And so, it's an important question, not to be simply disregarded. Maybe now is that time, you know, as we start to emerge, as we start to look at if we would add anything to our government, what we would add. Like this past budget is the first time the budget has increased in 5 years as mayor, but we very strategic in where we increase. You know, public safety, more lifeguards, more police in Puna, more police in Kau. You know, more fire trucks in Amakua out there for response time. You know, that's where we grew. You know, transportation, transit, a couple more mechanics. And we get 3 mechanics running around, so it's more mechanics. They never grow, just trying to, you know, IT. You know, 21st century, 2013, how come, you know, you go to a website and you get lost, or you cannot pay your bills online. You know, come on. You know, we've got to be more timely, responsive, efficient in technology. So that's where those are the 3 areas of this budget. Perhaps next year, our budgets are coming around in the fall. I submit my first budget in March 1st, my second amended budget in May. Perhaps in the next few months, we come to an inescapable conclusion that, hey, the dollar we put in creating support infrastructure, leadership, director, staff, just in energy, that it would return tenfold what we invest. Therefore, being not doing it would be, you know, maybe penny wise, pound foolish. So that might be a strategic investment we have to make going forward. You know, because you cannot say energy not one of the probably 5 most important things, I would say. I might have 18 departments, but I'd put it right there. Because it's like IT, it's like transportation. It impacts everything and everybody. It might be that important. You know, maybe you need that energy czar you know what I mean, who has cabinet level status, you know, who consults directly with the mayor, has his own staff that you have to check with him R&D. You know, maybe it's something you pull up, maybe it's, you know, maybe it's one of the directors of the department becomes the energy person, becomes a specialist. You know, maybe we'll give a raise, I don't know about that, that's so tough. Maybe we'll the energy. No, I'm kidding, you deserve it, you deserve it. You know, I get civil service requirements again. I know, no, I'm just kidding, I don't know that. Just teasing Will. Will's good. But, you know, as we're talking about it, as you ask it, it's a very fair question. And it's not something you go, you know. But I was just like, wow. You know, it's the easy one, right? Hey, add more guys. Well, we're like doing a better job, create one department around it. That's what they said in the Ag Sustainability Report. Create one department of Ag at the county level. Like, really? Come on, man. We pay you guys money for come up with a strong report. Give us guidance. I can guide myself on that. You know, like, because Ag is like, oh, but you get USDA, DOA. You create one department, no authority. You gotta check with black pesticide. You gotta check with black quarantine, right? Everything governed by federal, state. Why you gonna create one infrastructure that is toothless in effect? Right? A lot of energy policies here, but you know, maybe it's the county just grabbing it and saying, hey, we're gonna manage our own energy policy. We're gonna stop looking for assistance and guidance from federal, state, and we're gonna say this is our island. You know, this is our responsibility. Maybe energy is our #1 priority just because it so impacts everyone in our community. And if it's that important, then, you know, then we go council and ask for authority, ordinance, resolutions to support that. That might be the call. That might have to be the call, right? You reach a point where you go like, hey, you know, going to the ledge, going to Congress might not be as beneficial as taking it on, tackling it, and doing it ourselves. So, that might be the call. Steve, you got any more questions?
No,
You're making me think about some of the questions. I'm like, boy, wait, hold on, I gotta sip my coffee right here. Some caffeine in me. It's all good though, you know, and that's why time is important. Yeah, meanings is important. You know, and you know, I've got to say one of the challenges in administration is, you know, choosing to be in the communities as well, right? The time becomes valuable, you know, because you stop, you think, you listen, right? You hear, you know, you're not just reading one report, scanning one email, talking story, thinking about it, you know, spending time with them. It's important. You know, like yesterday from the planning commission, and gotta go hide in a room and talk to the corner coffee farmers on conference call, you know. But in those times, you put yourself in the moment, you know. I'm in Kau, you know, I'm in a room by myself, talk to the corner coffee, and Kau coffee farmers, and listening to them, you know, speak of, hey, you can help us with this land challenge we had. And what about marketing promotion? So even now, like this time is unlocked, right? And at the end of the day, yeah, I got 3 more years, 3 years, a couple months. You know, and my department heads and staff will tell you there is no slowing down. You know, I tell people that the privilege, and these words are used often, but it's true, that service is an honor, and it is a privilege. You know, like Senator Kenoi said, hey, politics, it's a noble profession. You know, some people, oh, politics, I'm not a politician. I am a politician. I stand on the side of the road with a sign. I make my friends wear my shirt on shame. You know what I mean? I stand over there and wave at strangers. That's politics. But politics is helping people. Politics is solving problems. You know, my car, the thing would flip into 120,000 miles. I bought it in September 2010. I looked down, 119, 700 something. That's no more 3 years. 3 years this month. And it's not just for drive around. It's because when a person in Koala call, I go. You know, and somebody in the corner, they tell me they like me there. I'm right there. Well, what's the matter? What you guys need? And I don't like just doing conference calls. I like see. I like listen. I like know. You know, like one time, real quick, you know, I go come home. I was at the one meeting. After a couple minutes for care, I go down and put a little for check them out. They brought a plastic chair and a coconut leaf. I go like, wow, what the hell doing over there? I walk like, nobody around. I walk up. It's my lifeguard, bro. County lifeguard. I walk away. A guy see me recognize. Hey, I'm scared. Hey, you know, I'm young. Like, hey, what's the matter, bro? Well, yeah, I can talk to you about your job. Like he was scared. You know, like talk like he was gonna get somebody in trouble. I said, brother, this your stand over here. Tell me, yeah. Wow, hey, you don't think you need one lifeguard stand, you know, to convey to the public where help is, to convey that confidence and safety? But I come right back, hey chief, how much one of these lifeguard stands cost? But get one, oh, we get one more instead we're waiting for, no, put them down in Punaluu. You know, because we didn't put that lifeguard who wasn't there, because Guy Week is to me important that, you know, somebody from the water. We passed the councilman. I thought, wow, Popular Beach, we cannot say, oh, no more coverage. But what I'm saying is, I wouldn't have known that if I never see that. When you come back and you make sure, you know, you take care of that. You know, I get so many things you learn, I would never learn in the office. You know, and I saw previous mayors, they would sit there and take meetings all day long. And I told them, reading's important, because it is. But it's not everything, you know, because you get things out there you're not hearing. And my decision making is only as good as the information I have. You know, and that's why the quality of people around you, the amount of effort you make, is important. You know, and the reason I tell you guys this, that's what's harder than you ever worked before. Like nobody thinking they're good and they can rest on any accomplishments and achievements that they had. Because then you know, this job not for you these next few years. Because it's going to be as impatient and as demanding as I ever been. Because the worst thing to do with the honor and privilege and gift that is leadership is to leave and say could've, would've, should've. Shame you do that. You know, and it's got to make it happen. You know, like make it happen. Hey, buddy, plenty of opportunities out there. Appreciate the time you're in surf. But maybe you should go do something else. Because in these last few years, I like guys give everything they had. You know, because at the end of the day, the enemy of excellence is complacency, right? You know, and we here to get stuff done with the time we get. So, you know, that's why this is important. Because I don't think about this for a while now. The rest of the day, maybe. What's that, Mom? You know? Oh. And so that's the value we're working on. And please don't be shy or reluctant or reticent. It's funny if we use that word. I like functional words in there, like veritable plethora of challenges. You know, this is people, wow, you must read books about that word. And then you use a word like the epitome and they go, well, he didn't know what he's talking about. That's epitome Hawaiian, not epitome. Sometimes you read, you make up your own pronunciations. That's happened when you go library, but you don't talk to enough people growing up. Anyway, but at the end of the day, you gotta laugh and have fun too, right? Anyway, could I ask everybody to please stand up and raise their right hand? And get sworn in as members of the Hawaii County Energy Advisory Commission. Please repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution of the State of Hawaii, all of the policies of this administration. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. Just wanted to see how faithfully you can swear you guys go first. That I will faithfully discharge my duties as a member of the Hawaii County Energy Advisory Commission to the best of my ability. Thank you very much and congratulations everybody. Thank you, Mom. Thanks, Julie. Thanks, Esther. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Tommy. Okay, Will. Hello, everybody. Have a great meeting. Great day.
You guys want to take a break? 10 minutes? You guys okay?
People on it, so. Okay,
Are we? No, no,
No, we're up here.
One, two, three, four, five, yeah, we're good. 6, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to be going, but I just wanted to just take a little moment just to remember Guy. Last year, well, Guy was our, one of the founding members of the commission. He also was, I think, our board's first, our commission's first chair. And last year I had an opportunity to travel to Japan with him. We went to Kumejima to promote OTEC. And he was this wonderful ambassador. Not just here in the work that he did here, but when he was in Japan, he was, like I told you, he was like a rock star over there. Everybody knows Guy Toyama up there. And just very unfortunately that we lost him at a very young age. So with that, I just want to take a moment of silence, just to remember Guy and what he meant, not just to this commission, but to us here on the island and to, I think, the entire world of energy. Thank you. So with that, please carry on. You guys have a great day.
Thank you, Randy.
Thanks,
Randy. Okay, I guess we got everybody sworn in and whatnot. Do we need to take a roll call? Oh,
I think.
okay. Can we?
So actually, if you wanted to do the introduction, they can introduce and then we consider a roll call.
Oh, okay, and that'll be our roll call.
Yeah,
I guess,
since
yeah.
they should ignore each other right there.
Okay, yeah, I guess we could start just in case everybody or people don't know each other. We could just do a quick introduction. Let's start with myself, I guess. Don Mende, the new Deputy Director for R&D, started in June. And looking forward to working with the folks.
I'm Steve Burns. I served on the last Energy Advisory Commission, actually the one before that, under Mayor Kim as well. And just quickly, a little about my background. I know most of you, but some of you I probably haven't talked to in a long time. Retired from Hawaiian Electric Company, 20 years. Worked in the private sector, started up Provision Technologies under AGI. And initially began my career here at the county as the first energy coordinator back in 1990. So that's been sort of the span of my professional career. I'm basically a solar advocate and professional, and have focused on that particular technology to a great extent in the renewable arena.
Hi, I'm Tommy Goya. I hired Steve to help with the electric company's integrated resource planning process. And I continue to believe in the process that was established by the Public Utilities Commission under Yukio Naito at the time. And I believe that if we had followed some of his visionary ideas and working in a cooperative atmosphere, we would be that much further ahead in our energy understanding. But I'm really here to ensure that whatever process we have here includes a very large educational component. We need people to decide on their own the pluses and minuses of the initiatives that are formed, because they are the real stakeholders. Thank you.
I'm Will Ralston. I'm the Energy Coordinator for the County of Hawaii, and I am very pleased that we have such a group that knows energy, because it is a highly technical, can be highly political area. So I look forward to your recommendations, and I'll gave them to the directors and the mayor. So thank you for your time, because it is a lot of time and effort.
Hi, good morning. David DeLuz Jr. Big Island Toyota, DeLuz Chevrolet, but we're also heavily involved in agriculture as well. In reality, the two major components that we face every day is infrastructure for transportation and water. And so with that, energy is actually the component that drives both. Without it, you're not going to be able to get one or the other. So I do believe in Mayor Billy's scenario that it does start with energy, and then the other parts of it kind of fit into that equation. I do believe there's a tremendous amount of low-hanging fruit within the county, but more than that, I do believe that this is an issue with this island especially that home rule needs to apply in regards to our destiny and how we look forward. And if I had my way, I believe this is the World Institute of Energy Solutions in being able to resolve those issues, kind of like Silicon Valley for microchips and computers. I mean, we've got it all. It's just maybe perhaps getting the collaboration that Tommy indicated, which I do believe is getting better. But the key to it now, I think, is trying to figure out how that average consumer needs to understand their role to actually create some synergy and getting the tool maybe a little faster. And so my goal is to see how I can make this place a better place to live, but more importantly, I think we can be a leader in the world to show them what can be done.
Morning, I'm Calvin Kohatsu. I'm the Fleet Administrator for Hawaii Electric Light. When Will approached me with the possibility of serving on the commission, I was, the light bulb went on, and I'd like to contribute and assist the county in achieving the transportation goals. I think we could lead the state with regards to the transportation initiatives.
Hi, I'm Martin Min with Hawaii Gas, formerly known as the gas company. Been with the company for going on 29 years now, and I'm also part of our statewide fleet management team as well, where Kevin and I just spoke briefly at a meeting a month ago to some of the county participants, and I'm a strong believer, and I've said this in the fleet management or the fleet presentation meeting, is that I think a big part of our initiatives is to basically walk the talk from the county's point first, and if we can get the county to initiate and to implement some of the action items, it's basically easier to for all of us to understand and to promote for the rest of the island residents. If there's anything I can do to help the Energy Advisory Commission, please let me know.
Okay, I'm Julie Myrie. I work for the Hawaii County Department of Water Supply. My title is Energy Management Analyst. And so basically my role is to worry about the HELCO bills and how we can control those energy costs for water supply, because it will allow cheaper water for our water ratepayers. 40% of the water bill right now is attributed to our electric bill. And so how can we manage that 40% of that water bill is kind of what my responsibility is. I served on the previous commission as well, and I was right now my role on this commission is to represent the Department of Water Supply. So I'm here to listen and participate and join in any conversations that we can be involved with.
And I'm Kailina, Private Secretary at the Department of Research and Development and the Secretary for the Energy Advisory Commission. So you'll be getting emails from me all the time. Sorry if I'm a pain by sending many emails, but and thank you all for accommodating this date and time. Appreciate it.
And I'm Margaret Masnaga. I'm the Deputy Corporation Counsel that advises this commission. I live in Captain Cook and I'm based in the West Hawaii Civic Center, down the hall from Wally Lau.
Thank you. Okay, I guess we can just go over a quick overview of the commission. Wait, you wanna go over the rules and
Oh, we should start with the appointment of the chairman.
Oh, the chair.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We have,
You-
assisting member in-house, so we should have our appropriately introduced.
Oh, from,
Oh, our publics, yeah.
okay.
Carrie Marks, member of the public. Aloha, y'all.
Hello.
Hi, new guys. Missed ya. Sorry. You know what? The Agriculture Commission forgot me in the corner too, so don't feel bad.
Is this our,
Thank you, Tommy.
do we have everybody here?
No, there's actually 3 people missing. Yeah.
3 additional people missing and 1 vacant position that needs to be filled.
But we do have a quorum, so it's up to the commission how you guys want to carry forward as far as, like, what the Ag Commission did was, they were missing 3 people too, yeah?
Yes.
And so they elected a vice chair that carried on the meeting and then wanted to get the whole commission together to vote for a chair. But it's good for you guys, because you guys have a quorum, so you could actually, you could do it today. So,
Yeah, we want to ensure island-wide representation too. So hopefully, we'll have a better balance
yeah,
between East
so,
Hawaii and West Hawaii.
so who's the 3 that's left here?
Yeah,
Like
two from one side.
20,
Stephen Bowles.
from Pamuela, and Hank. Is Hank, did he say
He is going to be
Okay,
part of
he's
the.
from Volcano.
He's from Volcano. I think Will was gonna, I think, off the record, speak to some of you on suggestions for anyone on the west side, to see if we could get them on the commission.
And I think that, well, Guy was the former member from,
Right.
yeah, so.
And Rod.
When Rod
Rod
came in
did.
as well, so we had a good corner, participation as an advisor.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
For me, this is a little question I have that is slightly related to the election topic that you're talking about. Marvin and Kelvin, are you here as representatives of your organization or just on your own?
Yeah, that's a good question. It can be both, I guess, but I think for me, I would think it's for Hawaii Gas.
Same with mine with Hawaii Electric Light, although my personal thinking is in line with the same with Hawaii Electric Light,
I mean,
especially with regards to transportation.
For example, my company is paying me right now to be there. I'm not taking vacation time or
My wife has been in transportation for the 70s.
So I
I
think,
think we need to stick to the agenda item, which is the appointment of the chair or the vice chair.
Okay, so,
Let's take care of that.
so, Margaret, if we do this, if we go with a nomination, then we can go into the discussion, correct?
Yeah, then we could do
Okay.
the rest of the
Okay.
agenda. Well, the rest would be statements from the public, go down what we have listed.
Now, okay, question in regards though, do we have the option to do a pro temp chair for just this one meeting? And then and with the intention of a larger body to
Yeah,
reconsider?
if there are no people present here who wants to volunteer to be chair, or if any of you voting members want to nominate somebody here, I would not nominate somebody who you haven't talked to.
Right, I understand.
Yeah.
Also, the rule, if you're not here, you don't get elected.
No, but that's unfair
That
too.
didn't work
Yeah.
last time.
What I do this then is, I nominate Tommy Goa Tommy Goya for vice chair with the understanding that upon a full body, we would consider a chair. So with that move, my nomination is for Tommy Goya, second vice chair.
Okay.
Now we're in discussion.
Yep.
Okay, I'd like to bring up, I think Steve brings up a good point. You know, from the industry side, we've got to be very cautious. I mean, the reality is that although we may be individuals in the community, there's strong inference in regards to the association of who we are and who we represent. And with that in mind, I think the transparency perhaps would be better served by neutral parties for leadership, I mean, in that regard. So, and that was my reason for Tommy's, nomination. So, and again, I think we're competent, but that's not the issue.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with what you're saying and refused the chair a couple of times when I was actually working with HECO for that very reason. It's perception, public perception.
Right.
My personal opinion in this particular case is that for this meeting, to facilitate the process, I'm willing to do it only for this meeting. As Steve said earlier, perception is reality. I served 30 years for the utility company, although my passion has always been energy. And I served on the water board for 5 years as well. But the trust issue is utmost in this whole process. So that in order to form open communication, we need to ensure that the direction and leadership comes from outside the electric utility, because it's played a significant influence on prior opinions, and I'm particularly sensitive to that. I want to ensure that nobody is jeopardizing my personal integrity for my participation here. Thank you.
So with that in mind, can I call for the question?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Tommy, you are.
Thanks, Tommy. Not trying to
For you, Junior.
I know the boomerang comes around, so I gotta be careful.
At least you know where you stand.
Okay. What's the agenda?
It's on the back.
And the tab
yellow sheet.
that says agenda, hopefully it's in the
Behind
The
right.
yellow
Behind the
tab.
pink.
Behind the peak.
You might not see the tab, but the pink sheet might
I
have the
think we
right
need to
tab.
move that pink.
Yeah, I lost it. I'm looking for it.
So we're on number 5. I don't, we didn't stimulate for the public?
Okay, the meeting has already been called to order,
Yeah.
so the only thing we need to do is move on with the agenda, and at this time I'd like to call for statements.
I'm good, thanks.
Thank you,
Aloha, everybody.
Aloha.
Nice to meet you.
and you're always welcome.
Thank you, Tommy.
And item number 6, in review and adoption of rules of practice and procedures. Do we have any discussion on that? Corp Counsel, do you have any worthy advice for us?
No, just make sure you read the rules of practice. I think it's very helpful, especially when it's talks about Rule 3 and Rule 4. Just make sure you skim it. And of course, Dot will keep track of quorum, which is 5 commissioners. But that's it. If nobody has any questions, you can go ahead and see if anybody wants to adopt the rules.
And item 7, we need to move to item 7 as well.
Oh, no, we need to have a motion
Oh, no, motion to
to adopt.
adopt the rules of practice and procedures. Do I
Yes.
hear a motion?
Move to approve.
Moved by Marty, seconded by Kevin. All those in favor? Aye. Discussion? Hearing none? Or you have any input?
I think it's important before we just adopt this to quickly read Rule 3 and 4, because that's really the meat of what we're
Right.
intending to do here, and it's different than what was put forth to us last time. on the commission for those of us who are continuing. Who wrote it?
Okay.
They did a nice job.
I know, they did a good, I didn't write it, but it's very good, that's why I was just telling Dot, I don't know if I should give credit to Dot or Will.
Will. is
Thank you,
who-
Will.
who
Thank you, Will.
Voted, thank you, Will.
So you were listening?
I tried.
Okay.
So, yeah. We're still in discussion.
We're still
Yeah.
in discussion.
I guess the first sentence of the purpose is broad enough to give us some leeway in doing things that we find that are attractive or productive or worth pursuing that may not actually be in the 5-year roadmap. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Because that was my only concern, is that it seems like we're being focused now to really just work on the implementation of this roadmap, the 5-year roadmap. And, you know, some of that is a little confusing to me because the way the roadmap was developed, it talked about building that capacity within the county to implement that. And so my question, it seems now, is that responsibility, and to what degree is that being shifted to the commission versus doing what we talked about with the mayor this morning of having an energy department and the staff that are needed to actually implement what's in the roadmap?
Yeah, so two things. One is, you brought up the idea of let's revisit the recommendations you made to the mayor in the last commission, revisit that, see what's been done and not done, and then is there enough personnel or is there enough, time, within R&D to implement those and where they belong. So I think that's the first order of business. And then maybe even adding or subtracting some of the ones that don't make sense anymore. So start with that huge document that you and Kurt were kind of the authors of.
So to add to what Steve was saying is that, the 5-year roadmap, what year are we on?
Right now, I would put us in year 2. Yeah. Yeah, it goes beyond the mayor's administration as well.
As long as everyone's comfortable that we have some leeway to go beyond exactly what's in the roadmap. And I'm hearing from you, we're gonna talk about all the recommendations that were already forwarded to the mayor and look at what's done and what could still be done. To me, that implies that we have that leeway. But I just want everyone to feel comfortable that that's the case before we move forward. I mean, given the language that's in here, because this is pretty much what defines what we're here to do.
Yeah, and I think sorry to interrupt, but item B,
Yeah.
under Rule 4, would be,
Yeah.
pretty much anything that you identify as a priority in action,
Okay.
and it could change depending on, where we are 6 months from now, too.
Okay. Any other discussion regarding that? All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, none? Rules and practices and procedures are accepted. Item 7, overview of the sunshine law and opportunity for training for commissioners. Defer to Margaret.
So yes, Dot is handing out just kind of like a quick review that the Office of Information Practices provided. The director, Cheryl Kakazu Park, they give a lot of good tips, and this is one tip that they have provided to the county and on their website. And if anybody has any questions regarding Sunshine Law, Office of Information Practices, I would highly recommend that you just Google Office of Information Practices, State of Hawaii, and go on their website. It's actually www.hawaii.gov/OIP, which stands for Office of Information Practices. So this was one handout that I thought was particularly easy and interesting. You know, basically, what you just read about Rule 3 and 4 is kind of your commission, Energy Advisory Commission business. And I think the main problem that happens is when, if you see one other commission members, no problem. If you see two at a social function, as long as you don't talk about board business, which is, you know, Rule 3 and 4, you're fine. You know, you can talk about your vacation, what you did, you know, your favorite sports, the weather, you know, anything, world events. It's only if you communicate with more than two people. And if you have something you want to talk about, it's always good to email Dot. And then, you know, like, oh, I want everybody to see this article. So you don't email it to, you know, 3 or more people. You just email it to Dot and say, hey, can you disperse this? And that's always the safest thing, is when in doubt, you call Dot. Because she's the one that will disperse the information to the commission. And it really, a lot of it's just common sense. Let me see if there's anything else. Also, in the rare instances where there might be an executive session within the meeting, that's where you have to be careful not to disclose that kind of information. I don't believe that would come up very much, if at all, in this particular commission. Normally, those are like personnel matters or settling a lawsuit, you know, or me having to give you legal advice relating to this commission. But I don't anticipate that being a problem. Let me see what else. The other thing that happened in the past is with communication, is if like, you know, Tommy sent something to Marvin and then Marvin sent it to David, and so it's called a serial communication. So just don't do that, you know. Anytime you want to talk to one person, just do an email, but never like string it along. You know, if Marvin wants to then talk to David, he does a new email. You know, don't string it along, because that's where you get in trouble. And you see that a lot, at least in county business, you know, where they'll forward somebody's other email, and that's just, to me, not a good practice. If you have something to say, to me, it's better to talk to them or call them on the phone, you know, one other person, but to avoid this serial communication. I also, if anybody, any commissioner is interested in, you know, having me do a seminar, I can do it together, a training, or separate. You know, it only takes an hour. If you do want to refresh your memory about the Sunshine Law, just call me or call Dot, and we'll arrange when I'm in Hilo to meet with you, and it takes an hour. It's very easy. Or if you just want me to send you a handout that I have, an additional handout, I certainly can do that. And if anybody has any questions about Sunshine Law or Office of Information Practices?
Only one.
Yes.
Ex officios and administrative support. doesn't apply, correct? Only
Right.
those who have taken oath.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
yeah, so that would be the 5 of you and the ones that are absent today.
Any other comment? I have a couple. Number one, yeah, it'd be helpful if you sent what information you
okay.
have to all of us. And I'd like to include within our regular agenda, a little information from our council regarding anything pertaining to the sunshine law that we should be aware of that has occurred, or it'll be just a reminder to all of us as we interact here, the importance of maintaining our integrity here. If you could add that to the agenda,
Okay,
that'll be real helpful. And the other thing too, I'd like to add our rule number 3 purpose to the agenda, not the agenda, but the meeting notice, so that the person picking up the meeting notice
oh, okay,
will have an idea on our charter. And I think, well, you did a good job writing that, and I think it'll be really helpful to those who may be for the first time picking up our agenda, to have a basic information on who we represent and what we need to get done. Any other comments?
One thing, when you asked about if there's been any issues, regarding the sunshine law, since if there's ever like some kind of energy conference, and then you're going, just not on behalf of the commission, but you're just going, and then you get nervous about, well, are they talking about at the commission, anything that might be part of your purpose as an energy advisory commission? That's fine, but you should still let DOT know, if it's like a meeting that might happen. And I'll give you an example. We had a county council, they went to some information meeting. They weren't talking about county council business, but some of the issues at this informational meeting did touch upon something that may happen now or in the near future. So county council members were worried. So what we did is they put it on the agenda as, information item saying, these 3 commissioners attended this energy information meeting, and they're going to give a report on it at the next next commission meeting. So that's something that may happen, and if that does happen, and if it is something that may be business of this commission, you could always, call Daughter, and she could relay it to me, and then we might want to put it on a future agenda. That's the only thing that has come up, in terms of the sunshine law recently. And the director of the Office of Information Practices is very, very helpful. So anytime I have a question, I just call her up and I say, hey, do we need to do this? She goes, no, like for the county council, she goes, no, but just to be safe, go ahead, put it on an agenda as information. There has never been a reported court case regarding a violation of the sunshine law in the state of Hawaii, but we do look at other states and what has happened in other states, because that's kind of like things that could get us in trouble. But in terms of the state of Hawaii, I think they're pretty good about, the information, so there's no violation.
Can you clearly state for us when not to use our position outside of this room as being a member of the Mayor's Energy Advisory Commission?
Well, you can always tell, people, you can put it on your resume that you're a member. And, members of the public, like on page 2, this handout that we just handed out, it did talk about, this is all allowed, you could talk to, well, this particular handout talks about, a lobbyist coming to talk to a county council member. There is no violation. A violation, I mean, I can't think of one right now, how you would violate a law just by saying, hey, I'm a member of the, Hawaii Energy Advisory Commission. I don't see that happening because you don't, you're not one where like you give out money and people are gonna, try and lobby you for $5,000 or something. That's, you're advisory to the mayor, so I can't think of anything right now.
Yeah, I just wanted to
Yeah.
remind all the members, perception is reality, and we need to be careful on how we position ourselves within discussions in our community as to providing advice from the mayor. It doesn't necessarily mean consent of the mayor.
No,
We are to provide information to the mayor for his dissemination and discussion.
Right. And, any advice, he will obviously listen, but, it's up to the mayor if he's gonna implement, something that this commission says, oh, I think we need to do this project or what have you. It is advisory.
And I think what's really important too is that, again, what you're saying about perception, public perception, and although you may like me, and Calvin may like me, or whatever, for us to be seen in the public, let's say, for example, just all of us just golfing together, that's just cool. Just that there needs to be some separation, I think, and more so because of the law says you can't talk any board business, etc. But it's also not good to be seen like a food together wherever we go.
Okay, but thank you very much, Marvin.
Okay.
And I'd like to end the meeting by noon, but we're going to give Will all the time he needs right now for an overview and discussion of Hawaii County's energy programs and related initiatives. And I know he's been extremely busy, so you have the next hour and 45 minutes.
No, I can do it in 10. It's really easy. You guys have seen most of the projects. We had a portfolio of projects that we were going to implement, and we have. So the LED lighting that's gone up with the DOE funds, 1,000 lights have gone up, and now we're entering into trying to do the full 7,000 if we can. That saves 50% on each lamp. So that's 50% savings to the county. What we're trying to do with that is create a revolving fund which would do more projects. That's a little bit harder to do within the county structure, so that's a direction we're heading. And one of the recommendations that Steve brought up and others brought up in the last commission. You already know we have the electric vehicle.
Speak louder, please.
Oh,
Thank
you already know we have the electrical vehicle fleet started. The plug-in hybrid electric vehicle fleet has been started. We have chargers at the West Hawaii Civic Center. We're putting chargers up at this building and the Apuni Center. So we'll be able to charge at both locations. We are very heavy, which is different than last year. We're heavily in the dockets, which consumes about 50% of an energy coordinator's time. So we try to do efficient projects. So instead of doing a master RFP for photovoltaics, we did a wind farm project with Department of Water Supply, which is worth in kilowatt hours and savings to the ratepayers is worth about 20 West Hawaii Civic Centers. So a lot of people compare us to Maui, which did like 10 or 15 PV projects, but a wind farm that has capacity factors at 60% is equivalent to doing like 20 of those projects. So that PPA was signed last week. Congratulations.
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. We're looking for projects that are transportation now. So the hydrogen vehicles, although they're not here yet, we're really looking forward to getting those because HNEI has deployed the money and the vehicles are ready. So we're really trying to push on the guys at Ormet to make sure that their investors are behind that, and we'll get the hydrogen vehicles here because it'll be kind of an interesting research and development project. Although, as I talked to Marvin before, hydrogen may not be the future, but it's a good research, development, and deployment project. Maybe there's a more cost-effective fuel out there, and that's what I really want to get into with the transportation experts that are in this room. Waste to energy is going to be a hotly debated subject. And in the waste to energy field, it's very complex. So anyone that's been involved in that before knows there's a lot of feedback that comes from county council. And it's really going to take the top people getting together to really pick the right waste to energy project. So that's going to be a very interesting and hotly debated subject. We're looking at doing an electric vehicle charger network around the island. We want to start with one in the middle of the island, maybe in the Saddle area or in the Waimea area to do a fast charger. We don't know where the money's going to come from or who's going to support that, but we're looking for a private business to step up. As we're already near 50% renewable energy, we leave the state, and as David was saying, you know, if this can be the Silicon Valley of renewable energy and renewable transportation, that's part of this commission's chore, if you will, or, you know, you have a nice layup here to actually lead the state and places in the United States with the most diversified portfolio of renewable energy technologies, and it could turn into, and it should turn into, an economic driver. We're looking at NELHA. We just kicked off a meeting with the Okinawans to do an OTEC related project at the Natural Energy Lab. As Tommy could, you know, explain, Okinawa, you know, post the nuclear accident in 2011, is very interested in doing renewable energy, and they do have the money. So this is a really nice initiative where the Japanese government could bring, you know, multiple millions of dollars to this island. So NELHA has been determined as the frontier for OTEC research, and as we kicked off the meeting, which was last Friday, lots of people are interested in doing business at the Natural Energy Lab, and with Greg Barber as the executive director, there's lots of money flowing there. So again, back to the Silicon Valley type analogy, this is kind of where we could position ourselves. And there's many other projects that we have in the pipeline. Maybe it's a good time to get some questions on what we've been up to and what you think we should be doing.
I have a question.
Sure.
I have no idea on this, but the electric charging station, it's the consumer, the end user. Do they pay for that, or they just plug in and it's?
Right now, it's free, because what we've determined is there's not a big enough penetration in electric vehicles or well, it's a chicken and egg thing. You need chargers to have an electric vehicle fleet, which stands on this island. I think there's 100 electric vehicles.
And most owners of these electric vehicles, they have their own.
Yeah, they must.
Chargers at
They
home.
either charge at home or they look for public chargers. Where there's about 8 locations currently. Hulco has their own, and they have 3 Nissan Leafs. Is that correct?
3 Leafs.
Yeah, and we have 5 Chevy Bolts. But if we really want to get into the deployment of electric vehicles, a charger network would be the thing you'd look for, a charger network that actually works. The Better Place electric vehicle charging network, which was funded with a large grant from the state through DOE money, didn't really work out the way it was supposed to. Some of the parts were malfunctioned, and a lot of times you go to the charger at the Four Seasons or other high-end hotels and it wouldn't work. So people would call their wives, their spouses, and then have to get picked up. So if it's an initiative that you think we should be focused on, and as I thought about electric vehicles and whether it's, you know, the right direction for, you know, doing a big charging network, I really had to take pause and listen to someone like Kelvin, who's been down this road, and electric vehicles and a charging network may not be our very first priority. You know, the electric vehicles have a specific use. And just like one hydrogen bus is an experiment, I don't know if electric vehicles are, you know, the direction to go down, you know, as the priority. I would like to hear, you know, Kelvin's thoughts on that issue for sure.
A couple of the challenges is, one is the price of electric vehicle. how many people will adopt it based on that price. The vehicles are really application specific. Meaning, for a specific application for short distances and stuff, they work well. Obviously, we don't have the charging infrastructure yet to do a cross-island driving with the electric vehicles. What can we do now to, well, reduce the cost, reduce the fossil fuel usage? And some of the fuel reduction strategies that I outlined at the presentation is, is some of my thinking of how we should go about reducing our fuel consumption. The electric is an important part of it, but again, it's application specific. You can't just take a broad brush and say electrics are for everything, every application. That won't work.
Right. So if we were to step into things like mass transit and that would take a social it would take a lot of education and getting that idea out to the public and adoption for it to be cost effective. Mass transit does represent a strategic initiative, and it's certainly one of the mayor's initiatives. So we're going to have mass transit. That's one of his administration's initiatives. So how do we deploy that? We've got money from the University of Michigan to do a strategic analysis of our mass transit system. So they're working with mass transit to do kind of a strategic, how should we do mass transit better right now? So that's already kicked off. That's one initiative.
Some of the things that we employed at the Hawaii Electric Light, as far as fuel reduction strategies, was a comprehensive GPS, AVL, telematics program, driver training, spec writing on the vehicles that we buy as far as miles per gallon, fuel consumption. And immediately if you just adopt E20 biodiesel, you just reduce your fossil fuel consumption by 20%. Performance issues, we haven't had any. We've been using it since 2006. We've collected approximately 1 million miles a year since 2006. So we've got a lot of experience with the E20 biodiesel. We do have a few vehicles on 100% biodiesel, but we're just doing that as a demonstration because it's a little bit more expensive than D20, but the D20 price is really attractive as compared to the street diesel price right now.
Yeah, and biodiesel represents an initiative that really, we have Big Island biodiesel here, just down the street, and they have a 5 million gallon per year capacity. So if they were to be able to produce all that, could county be purchasing that and float this initiative, help float this creative genius in biofuels? And then at some point, that biofuel could be used if we have a civil defense emergency in diesel generators that may power water departments or diesel generators that back up hospitals. So sometimes I like to think about, we're very lucky we've never been in a disaster situation, but everything changes in that situation. So one of the things you want to think about is, are there ways to island grids? Are there ways to use biodiesel with existing diesel generators? I mean, if we were in an emergency situation a week from now, we'd have a totally different conversation, about what the low-hanging fruit is and what we should be doing. So if Hurricane Nikki, comes to this island, the recovery time for them was like 2 years.
Right. We've taken sort of like a silver buckshot approach to transportation and incorporate a lot of technologies. We've converted Toyotas to plug-in Toyota Priuses, and there's not too many of those around that we did it 7 years ago.
You have a shop that can do that on
Yeah. And then that particular one was with Idaho National Laboratories, and we had a mainland contract to come in and install.
You need 3 of them?
2 of them, yeah, we did 2 of them. So, a lot of them, we have job site equipment management system type hybrids whereby the buckets and the booms are all electric and the engines don't have to start up. So there's another reduction in fuel consumption.
That's some incredible savings.
Well, I think Calvin doesn't say much, but for the size of a utility, we have one of the most diverse fleets in regards to alternative energy, electric, both in class 3 and in other categories. But because of that, and the demographics of our, and geographics of our island, they align themselves very heavily with some manufacturers to do a lot of beta testing once they do receive the product. So he gets a lot of pre-commercial insight into a lot of these developments and production sites. So we have an opportunity, from my perspective, on the transportation side. What they learn on the utility can go into the mass transit arena, because very similar things you look at. And again, it's not something Calvin promotes, but they are noted, again, for the size of the utility now. I forgot, you get 50-something vehicles and a combination of,
A lot of them,
yeah, I forgot what it was, but as a percentage of the fleet, highly diversified. So again, even to the point on his class 3, he's got one of the first parallel, right? Hybrids, or electrics, yeah, hybrid electric, yeah. So, which is very different technically on a per se powertrain with a regular hybrid. So again, these are the kind of issues that mass transit would be addressing in regards to conversions and or configuring, as he mentioned. They work with the specs from the ground up on what would work for their specific purpose. And it's, when you get into that caliber of equipment, the specifications is critical. Wrong specs, the vehicle's not going to perform in the way you'd like to in the environment it operates.
Right, and mass transit is a game changer. This island is the big island. If you got that right, if you got that one thing right from this group, it would change the island. So that's one of the things that we're looking for this group to debate and get the right decision. Because that's what we're entering into right now, is the mass transit strategic plan. So is it hydrogen, or is it compressed natural gas? Which technologies are we going to display and go after?
I think more discussion has to happen with that. Put it on the table, everything, the costs, infrastructure, everything.
Right, and we've had the GPS discussion and how to deploy that. So you have experience.
Well, in the presentation that I gave you, you saw the fuel consumption decrease and the miles per gallon increase that we've experienced since 2008.
Right.
So, from starting out at 8.66 consolidated miles per gallon of the whole fleet to today with the mix of hybrids and stuff, we're up at about 34, 35 miles per gallon juice.
That's incredible.
So, I could see the county reducing their costs right there with fuel.
Yeah, we have 780 vehicles.
Suggestion, Kevin, maybe you should be talking to the mayor and his cabinet, and we'll go for support and include the Department of Water Supply in this discussion, because, you want to talk about low-hanging fruit, it's been dangling there for a while. Electric energy has played a primary focus for about 10, 15 years now, where transportation is taking a back seat. It's like involving the rental car companies in some of the discussion.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I could go on about the different initiatives, but those are the major ones. And I would like to, at some point, hear about, like David was talking about, each person's vision for the island, because that's when I can get the context of where you think the island should head or is heading. Steve, I'm sure is going to mention, the sustainable, island, and in some ways we've had to, figure out what to do with how to be sustainable with electric prices and sustain, less driving when gas prices are high. So there's going to be, not that you can write a full-blown own sustainability plan, but sustainability is gonna happen as economics, as costs keep going up. You're gonna have to find ways to be more creative or actually use mass transit for the first time. Steve?
No comment.
Oh, that's unusual.
At 20-something years, no comment.
Defer to another time.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, is that all?
I have some questions, Bill, about your 50% involvement in the Public Utilities Commission docket.
Yes.
If you're spending 50% of your time on that, it would be good to hear a little bit about that every commission meeting.
Sure.
What are the hot topics and what's taking your time, and what can this commission do to support that?
Well, one of the things the commission did last time was really, when Hawaii Energy got the contract for energy efficiency, one of their metrics was island equity, but it wasn't a metric that they were held accountable to. So in other words, if they missed our island, they collect 2% on the bill now. So the PVF surcharge is 2%. So if Helco's collecting 300, 400 million, that's about 8 million. Where does that money go? So we really, how many times did we invite Ray? We put him in the crosshairs. We didn't just ask for, anyone from Hawaii Energy. We wanted the top guy. And we made, the meeting was not, what would you say? It was definitely, we were asking tough questions. And what happened was the PUC made island equity metrics, the amount of money that we ship to them, they made it a mandatory thing where they would actually have to deliver on island equity, and they did, finally. And it took 2 years to bring them in. So the current dockets are the integrated resource planning docket, the biofuels docket with KP, and the decoupling docket. And those are all fairly intensive dockets, because if you're in the utility world, these things, the 3 boxes come to your desk, and there's 10 3-inch binders in each box, and you read through them and you make statements, and you're basically in a legal proceeding. So the dockets that occupy my time are those currently.
That's good, thank you. So, I guess you'll be giving a report at every meeting, whenever that is. And any agenda items that you'd like to add for our next meeting prior to electing our new chairperson and vice chairperson? I guess in the absence of anybody else, you could either contact myself or Don to add an agenda item for the next meeting, or Don. And as far as a date and a time and a place,
On the agenda items, the mayor talked about circulating the final report. Is that going to be done electronically? That might save a lot of paper.
That would be an opportunity.
'Cause that was pretty thick, yeah.
I do have the link. We can definitely send it off to each of you. If you do prefer the hard copy, then we'll get that done as well. But I can go ahead and maybe, if not today, maybe Monday, get that link off to each of you.
and if there's something that we should know as members of this commission at any time, I guess we can channel everything to Dot, or you would like to give us a heads up at any time regarding any issues or concerns that we could schedule agenda items for future meetings. Please keep us informed, I guess. And we look for every opportunity to invite the public to our meetings and to educate the public. And it's the general public which I'm talking about, not those that already have special interests or issues. And these are the people that we should be outreaching to. date and time, anybody have any concerns or considerations?
You know, not that I enjoy traveling, but because of the island geographical scenario, is it the intention of this commission to try to represent fairly as far as meeting on as many different communities as possible? That's practical.
I think it's open for discussion, and I think, as we have done in the past, I think it's very important that we do the outreach and be proactive in that area. That's my personal opinion. And again, even if you can't attend the meeting and you're reading information that we produce, such as our minutes, you know, you're subject to, again, the perception are the meetings only being held for the convenience of those members that reside in Hilo or in West Hawaii or Ka'u, or even spending the time to go to, you know, Pahoa or Puna, where they have very sensitive issues regarding future geothermal development in their area. So I leave it up to the next chair to open it up for discussion, and I think those are very pertinent. I'd like to see us tie in with ag to see what their issues are, and also the connectivity with the Department of Water Supply as well. When I was on the water board, it helped change the model to water our most precious resource, and I still believe that to be so. So again, water ties into everything else we do here as far as an economic base, and certainly the agriculture initiative has been here since day one. And I'll get into some of my personal kinds of things when I'm not in a leadership position here, beginning with the next meeting. Again, Dot, we defer to you for a date and time and place.
May I ask a question on, now, basically, we used to do, or we did do video conferencing. If that option is available, then we are able to have people who are on the west side, or where, the only thing is we only have access to this on the west side. Yeah, I don't think we have any other county facilities that we could use to do so. But if we just have public people on the west side and not a commissioner, or should we still do that?
Well, I don't think it's necessary unless something on the agenda may be related specifically to West Hawaii that you would want to have that available. But I think it's perfectly fine to, you know, just have it, you know, you don't have to have video from West Hawaii unless, you know, there's something on the agenda that you would think, oh yeah, definitely people, members of the public from West Hawaii will want to participate in.
Okay.
And have it available. But it's not required.
Yeah, personally, I wouldn't want to set our place for the next meeting too far in advance, and I think maybe we can set it for the next few meetings. I guess the next meeting is an organizational meeting, so I'd like for the next meeting to be held in the Hilo. And time and place, can we leave that up to you within a month, and to keep us informed? And to find an appropriate date, because you know, we'd like to have as many members of the commission attend meetings.
Is that the intent to meet monthly?
We'll leave it up to the next chair and open that up for discussion.
But then for the next one, is
Yeah,
next
within a
month?
month, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not certain about anyone else's schedules, however, my colleague Kini informed me that, you know, like how we did in the past, some like second Mondays or third Thursdays or what have you. He gave me all his list of all his unavailable times. Now, what I can do with this group is try to find something for October for here, and we'll take it from there. And then from there, you guys can decide on third Thursdays or second Tuesdays or what have you. But there is so many different people. You guys are all busy, so it might be really challenging to get us all on that same.
Or do you want to go ahead and schedule a meeting now for next month?
Well, the only
Since
thing is
they're here.
location. I have to
Oh.
find the location. That's the only challenge, is making sure the facility is available. And there's more than this room, so there's opportunities for us to get another location. So if you wanna give me right now, if you want to, maybe your first, second, third choice on a date in October, then that might be helpful instead of going in, blind.
Could you send us an email on that so we can respond to you directly?
Oh, okay.
Our availability with maybe give us 2 or 3 days.
Okay, you want me to send a request to you to ask for you to send me your availability for
Well,
October?
you have to have a facility available if you're gonna hold it here. So if you give us 2 or 3 days, to see whether we can attend those meetings.
But you gotta look at availability.
You gotta look at availability first.
Yeah.
Okay,
Availability.
whichever works for
For
you.
people.
Yeah.
Either way, I mean, it might be a little bit helpful to know what days you're not available, I think. Then I can look at the calendar
Yeah.
for the rooms and the facilities, because I would only be going backwards. So it might be best if you
Okay,
gave me that.
I think you're done. Again, if you have any potential agenda items, it'll be really helpful because do we want to do some real hard work here at our next meeting, or do we use this for administrative purposes to get a little more organized? So again, your input is vital to the time we spend here. So again, agenda items will really help us focus in on what we need to get done.
And who receives those for the next meeting? Because it's the chair that puts the agenda together, right?
Yeah. So in the interim, it will come to me, or Don can forward it to me. And we'll concur with Don.
Yeah, so I think that it'll be an email to you and I.
Yeah.
And I think that would be
Whichever would
the
come.
perfect process.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I ask for the motion to adjourn the meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So
Moved by Steve, I need a second. Second by Dave, thank you. All those in favor of adjourning the meeting? Say aye. Thank you for your time and attendance, and thank you, Will. Keep up the good work.
And you did it by 12 noon, Tommy.
I know.
Wow. 12 o'clock exactly. Dang.
12:01.
I have 12 o'clock.
12 o'clock too.
Yeah, I
I'm
did
marking
too.
it at 12. Straight up.
Spooky.
And that's what it's seasonal class, so that's pretty accurate.
Thank
job,
you, everyone.
Jane.
So, if you have any questions on your contents of your binders, any housekeeping kind of stuff, just call me or text me. Your mileage forms, these are the pink forms that are in there. I apologize for that to be blocking the rest of your tabs. So if you want to, move it over, you can do whatever you want with your binder. But that mileage form is for compensation for your transportation. Now, it would be nice if you send it to me with a couple of dates in there instead of every meeting, but we can go ahead and get you compensated for your mileage.
What about parking?
Okay,
Can you
we're
send that
gonna
out?
work on the parking issue, and we're going to see what we can get from DPW on passes for you folks for those meetings.
In my haste to end the meeting on time, I forgot to thank you, Don, for what you do for the commission. Look, we have snacks. She goes out and shops for the snacks for us, and she makes sure that we get done what we need to get done. And she's been a vital part of this commission for a while now. Thank you again, Don, for your interest as well.
Thank you for your patience with me. Okay, so please eat it all, because I'll like pack them up.
And then you want these back, right?
No, that's gonna stay in your
Your
binder,
binder? Oh, okay.
so that you bring it whenever you're here.
Oh, okay, and then put it in.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Oh, and organize your binder however way you see fit.
There's no rules.
No, there's no rules, and I'm not gonna check them when we. Oh, I guess guess we'll talk about the electronic stuff next.
Personally, I thank you very much.
How we're bringing electronics, some people were bringing their
Oh.
laptops. I
Yeah,
guess that
yeah.
might be a thought to discuss.
It's-
Yeah.
And,